So we can start, sir.
Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Numami Bhagavad Shankaram Lokashankaram Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Atmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. With the blessings of Acharya Swamiji, we are proceeding with study of Srimad Bhagavad Gita with emphasis on Adi Shankara's Bhashya. We are in chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. The methods of Dhyana Yoga, the pitfalls, the qualifications, the procedure, all of them were discussed in detail by Bhagavan. Arjuna asked a question, yesterday we saw, what happens to the one who does not complete the process and before that he dies? Then Bhagavan gave an assurance, nothing goes waste. Now that is the basic rule of our Sanatana Dharma. Nothing goes waste. Whatever you do, good or bad, everything will have its fruit. Only when you reach akarma stage, nishkarma siddhi, when you reach the perfect jnana, moksha, then all karmas will drop away. Jnana agni dagdha karmanam. We saw that. So, till that stage, all karmas will bear fruit. So, if you have done good, kalyana kriti, then definitely that will bear fruit even for ordinary persons. So, now in the context of Dhyana Yogis, he gave an assurance of two kinds of rebirth for the one who has not reached the goal, who has fallen short of the goal very little by a small margin. One is he will be born after enjoying many, many years in lokas, which are meant for people who have done Ashwamedha Yaga, etc. Though he has not done, he has dropped the karma, Ubhaya Brashtaha. He has dropped the karma, he has not perfected the yoga. So both ways he has lost. That was the question. Even then, Bhagavan is kind enough, compassionate enough to grant him all those, because he still had a tinge of desire. All those lokas which are meant for people who have done the best of yagas like Ashwamedha Yaga, that is the interpretation given by Adi Shankara. He spends many years there and then he is reborn in a family full of wealth, but exceedingly pure. The other person who is extremely close to the jnana stage, he is reborn, no doubt. He doesn't go to all those lokas. He is reborn on earth immediately. And he is born in a poor yoga family. So, yogi's family. Then this second birth is extremely rare. He himself says, Bhagavan himself says. Now he is continuing with that. What happens after birth to this person? Tatratam buddhi samyogam labhate paurvadehikam yatate cha tato bhuyaha samsiddhau kurunandana purvabhitenaiva kriyate shyavasopi saha jignasiropi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. Tatra means there, where after getting rebirth on earth, tam buddhi samyogam labhate paurvadehikam, tam paurvadehikam buddhi samyogam. That he starts with that, which he had reached earlier, paurvadehikam, purvadeha, in the previous birth, the stage in which he left the body, buddhi samyogam, the yoga which he had obtained with the use of his intellect, yoga which he had reached with the use of his intellect. Tam labhate, he gets it back. He doesn't have to start from the scratch. Yatate cha tato bhuyaha samsiddhau Kurunandana. Hey Kurunandana, one born in the family of Kurus. In fact, the word Kaurava applies both to Kauravas and Pandavas, though we are using it for Dhritarashtra's clan. It applies equally to Pandu's clan because Kuru is the forefather of all these people. Anyway, Yatate cha tato bhuyaha samsiddhau tataha. After being reborn, after getting memory of the previous birth, after getting the samskaras of the previous birth, bhuyaha, once again, samsiddhau yatate, he makes effort. Now he puts in greater effort towards samsiddhi, attainment of the fruit, jnana yoga's fruit. So he doesn't start from the scratch. He starts from the point of advantage, from the point where he had left in the earlier birth, and he continues. When he continues, is there any discontinuity, any special effort? He is answering the question. Purvabhyasena tenaiva hriyate kyavashopi saha. Purvabhyasena, because of the abhyasa in the previous birth, because of the practice of dhyana yoga in the previous birth, tena eva hriyate, he is attracted towards that. He will not be attracted to, like ordinary people, to worldly things. Shuka. That is why we took Shuka as an example, Sanaka as an example. Were they attracted towards worldly things? No. Right at birth, they were jnanis. Tena eva hriyate, they will be attracted by that very dhyana yoga which they had left. Abhashopi saha, even involuntarily, that is, he doesn't have to make any effort. Abhashopi means he doesn't have to make any effort, or without any special effort, involuntarily he will be attracted towards that point where he had left before. Purvabhyasena, because of the abhyasa in the earlier life. Jignasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. Even if he is in Jignasu stage, what is Jignasu? Jignasu is one who desires jnana. One who has attained jnana is jnani. This terminology we have to understand clearly because this is going to come again. Jignasu is one who is keen to attain jnana. In fact, this term Jignasa is used commonly in our Shastras. Athato Brahma Jignasa. The Brahma Sutra starts with this first sutra. Ataha Brahma Jignasa. Now means what? Having acquired the qualifications for calling yourself a Jignasu. Then Brahma Jignasa. You are going to know about Brahman. Then he teaches, Vyasa teaches in Brahma Sutra. Athato Dharma Jignasa. Dharma Shastra starts like this. Now that you have attained preliminary qualifications, now you let us know about Dharma in detail. So, that desire to know is Jignasuhu, one who has that desire. Jignasa is the desire, Jignasuhu, one who has the desire. Now we are talking about the highest jnana, not Dharma Jignasa. We are talking about Brahma Jignasa. So that Brahma Jignasa, if you are having that, that means what? That means you have not become a jnani, you are short of that goal by a small margin. So he is qualifying him as Jignasuhu. That means you are definitely keen on attaining jnana. There is no doubt about it. Even then, even if you have not attained jnana, yogasya Jignasuhu, jnana yogas, ultimate jnana goal, even if you are in that stage. Shabda Brahma Ativartate. He crosses Shabda Brahma. What is Shabda Brahma? Shabda Brahma is Veda. Shabda Brahma is Veda. Brahma in Shabda Swarupa, in the form of Shabda. Because Veda is nothing but, it is described in Veda itself as the life breath of Bhagavan. The life breath of Bhagavan is Veda. So if somebody's life breath is that word, that sacred word, then naturally that is same as him, isn't it? Life breath is not different from Bhagavan. So Veda is not different from Bhagavan. That is why it is called Shabda Brahman. Brahman in the form of Shabda. Ativartate, he crosses Veda. What does it mean? He crosses the karma kanda part of the Veda, because karma kanda part gives certain fruits. If you do this yaga, you will go to this Surga and you will spend so many years there, etc. etc. Now he is not interested because he is Jignasu, he is having Brahma Jignasa. So he does not bother about that, and those fruits do not accrue to him. He crosses that. He crosses the fruits of Vedas. And not only fruits, the rules. Shabda Brahma has got rules. If you have to perform karma, because he had dropped the karma already, so those rules also do not apply to him. So, Vedokta Karmanushtana Phalam, that is Shabda Brahma, according to Adi Shankara. Vedokta Karma Anushtana Phalam, the fruit which accrues to you by practicing the karmas stipulated in Vedas. Now he continues saying, तेन कृतं चेत् योगाभ्यासजात संस्कारात् बलवत्तरं धर्मादिलक्षणं कर्म तदा योगाभ्यासजनितेन संस्कारेण आक्रियते. Now तेनैव ह्रियते, that he is explaining in detail how he is attracted towards yoga at the stage in which he had left. Tena kritam chayat, if he had done yoga abhyasajat samskarat, by the samskara which was ingrained in him by repeated practice of yoga in the previous life, balavattaram dharmadi lakshanam karma, very forcefully he is attracted. Dharmadi lakshanam karma, he has followed the path of dharma. He has never gone into adharma. Tada Yogaabhyasa janitena samskarena asriyate. If he has followed the path of dharma, and if he has followed the path of dhyana yoga, because even when you are following the path of dhyana yoga, you become angry suddenly one day. That is adharma. You have fallen from your practice. So that is why he is making that qualification. If you have followed the path of dharma, then the samskara which was there in you earlier comes back to you after you are attracted to that. Adharma chet, if you have done adharma by mistake, then what happens? Balavattaraha kritaha, tena yogajopi samskaraha avibhujate yeva. He is giving a very beautiful assurance here, Adi Shankara. Though it's not there in the original shloka, this is the interpretation given by Adi Shankara. He says, if you had done some adharma in the previous life, though you had reached almost the goal of jhana yoga, then adharma will bring its fruit. Nobody can stop it. Yogajopi balavattaraha kritaha. If the adharma is very strong, then it will give its fruit immediately on rebirth. Then don't think you will be overpowered by that, because you have a greater samskara because of the yoga. Yogajopi samskaraha abhibhujate eva. That samskara will come back to you. It will not go anywhere. After enjoying the fruit or suffering the fruit of that adharma. Takshayatu yogajaha samskaraha swayameva karyam arabhate. Once that samskara is over, the fruit of the adharma is over, swayameva, on its own, you don't have to do anything. The yoga samskara comes back to you, arabhate. न दीर्घकालस्यापि विनाशः तस्य अस्ति इत्यर्थः. By the compassion of Bhagavan, this fruit of adharma will not last long. It will be over in a short time, and you will come back to your previous state. Though tenaiva hriyate, he is giving this interpretation. So, Shabda Brahma, Brahmanandagiri gives this explanation. Vedam karma pratipadikam atikramati karmadhikaratikrameణ jnanadhikari bhavati. Because we are talking about karma kanda, whatever karmas are stipulated in Vedas, he crosses that. That means he is no longer bound by those karmas. Atikramati. Karmadhikara atikramena. Because he has crossed that stage of duty of karmas, jnanadhikari bhavati. He becomes eligible for jnana. That is Shabda Brahma Ativartate. So because he is Jignasu, because he is Jignasu Ratri, because he is Jignasu, he has that great desire for jnana. These stipulations of Vedas regarding karmas will no longer apply to him. He becomes eligible for jnana. And with some more practice, he will attain jnana. That is it. Dayaneva kriyate. Whatever yoga abhyasa he had left in the previous janma, he is attracted towards that. I think we referred to the story of Jadabharata in one of our earlier sessions. We can recall that in this context because that is the closest application of this principle. Jadabharata was a great yogi, great. He was eligible for moksha. Then suddenly, when he was sitting in dhyana on the river bank, he saw a pregnant deer crossing the river. And the pregnant deer gave birth to a baby deer and lost its life and was dead. So he became very compassionate. He went and took that baby deer and reared the baby deer in his ashram. And he became so much attracted towards the baby deer. Then Srimad Bhagavatam describes this in great detail. His actions after attraction. He forgot all about his yoga. Look at that. That such a great yogi was going to get moksha. He forgot all about his yoga practice. He spent all his time in looking after this baby deer. If the baby deer goes, he will go follow. All this is described. He will follow the deer. If he goes out, he will ensure that baby deer is taken care of, comes back, and then inquires first about all this kind of thing. Then finally, when he drops his body, when the time comes, after all, everyone has to die. The time for death came for him also. Normally, he should have attained moksha on the Videha Mukti. No, because he was so much attracted to a deer, he was reborn as a deer in the next birth. Because whatever is there in your, that he is Bhagavan going to say in clear terms in the future slokas. Whatever is there in your mind at the time of death, that will come back to you. So deer was in his mind, so he was reborn as a deer. Only difference was he was not an ordinary deer. He was a deer with full memory of his previous birth. Full memory. That is the Purva Bhyatena Tenaiva Kriyate. So he was, though he cannot practice in yoga as a deer, his life as a deer became sharp because of his repentance. As a deer, he was repenting for his action. So his life as a deer was sharp. Then he was reborn again as a human being. Then he became Jada Bharata. He was born as a Jada, as an inert person. Means what? He was a yogi like Shuka Brahman. He was a jnani right at birth. Of course, he attained moksha at the end of the rebirth. And what he did during the Jada stage is the subject of a great discussion in Srimad Bhagavatam. What are the experiences he had and what are the teachings he gave to a king, etc., etc. So all this as a great jnani. So he became a great jnani right at birth. So this is the process. The process was there even for him. That is why we have been told again and again, do not get attracted. You retain your jijnasa. So that is what he has been emphasized here. Tatratam buddhi samyogam labhate paurvadehitam yatate cha tato bhuyaha samsiddhau kurunandana पूर्वाभ्यासेन तेनैव श्रियते ह्यवसोऽपि सः जिज्ञासुरपि योगस्य शब्दब्रह्माति वर्तते प्रयत्नात् यतमानस्तु Yoga samsiddha kilbishah aneka janma samsiddha tato yati parangatim prayatnat yatamanastu yogi samshuddha kilbishah. Whatever little fault, deficiency, that is kilbisha, was there in him, that he clears himself, he becomes pure, samshuddha kilbisha. So this yogi, having cleared of all his deficiencies, all his faults, those faults were the cause of his rebirth. We saw that, like in the case of Jadabharata. So, now that is gone. Prayatnat yatamanastu. He makes effort. He makes effort. Adhikataram yatamanaha ityarthaha. Why he say prayatnat yatamanaha? Where yatamanaha is good enough. Prayatnat yatamanaha adhikataram yatamanaha. He makes lot of effort. Because now he is keen that what happened in his last birth should not happen again, like Jadabharata. Like in the third birth, when he was born as a human being, he was keen that he should not be born as a deer once again. So, prayatnat yatamanaha yogi samshuddha kilbishaha aneka janma samsiddha tato yati parangatim. After, in the course of many lives, Bhagavan is not saying in the course of one life, aneka janma samsiddha, after having practiced in many, many lives, he attains the supreme goal, param gatim yati tataha, after that. Why he says aneka janma samsiddha? Jadabharata, it was only 2 janmas, rare and then a human being, because he was in that stage. It depends on the stage in which you are leaving the body. There is no partiality on the part of Bhagavan. It is only our qualification which determines this, whether it is Aneka Janma or whether it is Eka Janma, whether it is Dvijanma, Trijanma. Now all this is determined by the stage in which you have left the body in the first case. So, Aneka Janma Samsiddha Tato Yati Parangatim. Adi Shankara explains this. Anekeshu Janmasu Kinchit Kinchit Samskara Jatam Upachitya. In many, many births, little by little, you are acquiring that progress in yoga. Tena upachitena aneka janmakritena samsiddha. So by acquiring little by little that yoga samsiddhi, the fruit of yoga, you are now in the stage of aneka janma samsiddha. Tataha labdha samyak darshanaha. You have now got the jnana, which was the goal. Labdha samyak darshana. Always jnana is determined as samyak darshana. If you have noted, whenever the term jnana comes, Bhagavan Adi Shankara uses the term samyak darshana, right perception. Because jnana is right perception. What is right perception? Only Brahman is true. Brahma satyam jagan mithya. Devo brahmaiva na aparaha. This is the truth. Brahma is alone true, real. Deva is not different from Brahma. Deva thinks he is different from Brahma. And this Jagat, the world around us, is nothing but false. This is the jnana. So this you have to attain in your experience, not from book. So that then that samyak darshanaha. Labdha samyak darshanaha. He gets the right perception. Prakrishtam gatim param gatim yati. The highest state he gets. तपस्विभ्यधिको योगी ज्ञानेभ्योऽपि मतोऽधिकः कर्मेभ्यश्चाधिको योगी तस्माद् योगी भवार्जुन. No, he comes to the level of an ordinary human being. Bhagavan comes down to the level of Arjuna and other human beings, and he is recommending the dhyana yoga for all of us, all the humanity. While recommending, you have to praise that particular, not that it is really the greatest or something like that. We have to say it is the greatest because that is how you have to make it attractive. We have seen that Bhagavan doing it on a few occasions in Bhagavad Gita. So here also he does the same. Tapasvi bhadiko yogi. Yogi is greater than tapasvi. How can it be? How can yogi, dhyana yogi become greater than tapasvi? Because tapasvis in general, there are always exceptions. Tapasvis in general, like Asura Tapasvis, have limited goal in their minds. They want to be reborn with greater powers. Whereas this yogi has only one goal, that is jnana, samyak darshanaha. We saw that. So naturally he is greater. So tapasvi should be interpreted this way. In fact, that interpretation he is himself giving in the next chapter. ज्ञानेभ्यो अपि मतोऽधिकः ज्ञानिभ्यः अपि अधिकः मतः. He is greater than even jnanis. Is stage for the next chapter, because next chapter is Jnana Vijnana Yoga. He is making a distinction between Jnana and Vijnana. Jnana is Shastrartha Pandityam, becoming a scholar based on scholarship of Shastras. Whereas Vijnana is experiencing in your own life, in your own mind. Then that is Vijnana. He is going to make the distinction in the next chapter. So he is setting the stage for that, saying that this yogi, because he has attained the state of Vijnana, he is definitely greater than ordinary jnanis who are only scholars. Mataha, he is considered to be greater. Karmibhyachadhipo yogi. There is no need to say that he is greater than karmis, those who are intent only on doing karmas. Because they are in the process, they become attached to karmas. You should never become attached to anything. So in the process of being a karmi, you become agnihotradi karma, tadvadhyaha. Adi Shankara explains. Karmas like agnihotra, etc., which are no doubt great, but don't get attached. Your goal is jnana. Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Hence, because yogi is greater than a tapasvi, yogi is greater than a jnani, yogi is greater than a karmi. Therefore, you become yogi. Tasmat yogi bhava. This is the instruction. Now he is coming to the close of the chapter by setting the stage for the next chapter. Prayatnat yatamanastu yogi samshuddhakalbishah aneka janma samsiddhah tato yati parangatim tapasvibhyadiko yogi तपस्विभ्योऽधिको योगी ज्ञानिभ्योऽपि मतोऽधिकः कर्मिभ्यश्चाधिको योगी तस्माद् योगी भवार्जुन योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां समे युक्ततमो मतः. Now he is going one step further. He came down to the ordinary level. Now he is going to the highest level. Dhyana yogis who have attained perfection. Now, there are a group of jnana yogis who have attained perfection. Yoginam api sarvesham. Among all those yogis, among all those perfected jnana yogis, sa me yuktatamo mataha. I have to choose one of the greatest. Yuktatamaha. Yuktaha, yuktataraha, yuktatamaha. Yuktaha is yogi. Yuktataraha, in comparison with another person, he is the greater yogi. Yuktatamaha, he is the greatest. Nobody can compare with him. Same Yuktatamo Mata. He is the greatest yogi. Who? Madhyatena Antaratmana Yomam Shraddhavan Bhajate. Shraddhavan. He is having, so he is full of faith in what the Shastra says, in what the Guru says. This is the definition of Shraddha. Shraddha is faith in what Guru has taught, faith in what Shastra has taught. So he is full of that Shraddha. Madhyatena antaratma, his antaratma, his mind is ever attached to me, to Paramatma. That is the basic qualification for calling yourself yogi. But this man is perfected in that. All yogis are perfect, have perfected, but he has got greater perfection, the degree of perfection. So he says, Yo mam bhajate madhyatena antaratma. The one who worships me with full attachment in his Atma towards me and full of faith, he is naturally the greatest, most integrated, Yuktatamaha. Now, one qualification he gives here, Adi Shankara, to explain how this man is greater than other yogis. They are also perfect. They are not worshipping Paramatma, they are worshipping other devatas. Adityadi Dhyanaparanam Madhye. They are worshipping, they are having in mind their devotion towards not Paramatma, but expressions of Paramatma like Aditya and others. So naturally he is greater, one who is having only Paramatma, because you have to finally attain the Nirguna Brahma stage. That is moksha. Moksha is Nirguna Brahma stage. So if you are worshipping Saguna Brahma, like Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Devi, etc., that is not good enough for reaching the Nirguna Brahma stage. So if you are worshipping that too a lesser god like Aditya, etc., then you are caught in that web. You are not becoming eligible for the final Nirguna Brahma stage. For final Nirguna Brahma stage, you will be given by Shiva or Vishnu or Devi, provided you have desired for it. It is going to be given by them only. You have to keep worshipping them. There is no bar on that. You are encouraged to do worship. If you are not able to concentrate only on Nirguna Brahma, nothing wrong. Because Saguna Brahma will lead you to Nirguna Brahma. That is the Vedanta philosophy. So, but don't go to lesser gods, because he mentioned earlier also, Anyan Devan Bhajate, he said. So that should not be. So that is the interpretation given here, because this yogi is greater than other yogis who are still worshipping lesser devatas. Now, योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां समे युक्ततमो मतः. Now this is the last shloka of this chapter, which is Sri Mahabharate Shatasahasrayam Samhitayaam Vaiyasikyam Bhishma Parvani Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Dhyana Yogo Nama or Atma Samyama Yogo Nama Shashtodhyaya. Now, this brings us to the end of sixth chapter. Now, this six chapters together are grouped as the first Shatka. We saw that at the beginning. There are three Shatkas in Bhagavad Gita. First Shatka, second Shatka, and third Shatka. And in scholars have interpreted this way, saying that in the Mahavakya, Tat Tvam Asi, the first Shatka refers to Tvam, that is the Jiva stage, description of the Jiva, what Jiva should do. All this is covered in these six chapters. The emphasis is on Jiva. The second Shatka is the emphasis on Tat, on Paramatma, description of Paramatma, what he does for us, etc., etc. And the third Shatka is Asi, that is the equation of Jivatma and Paramatma. Jivatma is no different from Paramatma. So that point comes up for discussion in the third Shatka. Now, the first Shatka, if you see the six chapters that we have crossed, first was Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna was overcome by dejection and grief. And that was based on compassion towards the enemy. So he became eligible for Bhagavad Gita teaching. Then second is Sankhya Yoga, where the emphasis was on Sankhya. Sankhya meaning Jnana. So the Jnana, that Jiva is no different from Paramatma, etc. was taught in that chapter, and Karma Yoga was introduced. And chapter 3 was Karma Yoga, where the techniques of Karma Yoga, how you should do your karmas ordained in Shastras while devoting all the karmas, all the fruits of the karmas, all the ownership of the karmas to Bhagavan. That don't get attached to the karmas. This is for these different techniques were taught to us in Karma Yoga chapter. Then the fourth chapter was Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. That means ultimately you have to drop the karmas for attaining jnana. Karmas will drop on their own. But the goal should be jnana. So don't get bogged down in karma yoga. That was the message. Then the next chapter was sannyasa yoga. How to drop the karmas. You should drop on your own or they will drop on their own. How to achieve that stage. What should be our attitude towards our karmas. That was subject in chapter 5. Chapter 6 is dhyana yoga. Towards that, towards dropping of karmas, the best tool is meditation, dhyana. Patanjali is Ashtanga Yoga, starting with Yama and Niyama and ending with Samadhi. Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi. After crossing Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pratyahara, Pranayama, Pratyahara, etc. Now, so you have to go through all the 8 stages laid down by Patanjali. Then the term Jnana Yoga refers to all the 8 that Bhagavan himself has explained. So ultimately, when you reach the finality of Samadhi, that is the stage when you will get Jnana by the grace of Bhagavan, not because you are qualified. That Bhagavan is himself going to say in another context. By the grace of Bhagavan, that is why worshipping Shiva or Vishnu or Devi, continuing to worship is important. Because you have not still reached the Nirguna Brahman worship stage. So continue with all devotion, with all faith, worshipping them, and continue with your Dhyana Yoga practice, continue with your Samadhi, attaining Samadhi practice. That was the message given in Dhyana Yoga. So all the 6 chapters are dealing with what Jiva should do, isn't it? For attaining jnana, in essence. Now, what is the role of Paramatma in this? What he is doing for us? What is Paramatma? All that is being taken up in the next 6 chapters. And chapter 6 is Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Now, here, the glory of Paramatma is taken up right at the beginning in this chapter, the glory of Paramatma. And what he does for us. That is all taken up. And what is jnana and what is vijnana? That is all taken up here. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Sakta Manah Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashtrayaha Asamshayam Samadrama Yathajna Sthiti Tachruno. He Partha, Mayi Asakta Manaha Yogam Yunjan Matu Ashtrayaha Mam Yatha Jnasyasi Asamshayam Samadram. One who is having full refuge in me. Matu Ashtrayaha, that is important. One whose refuge is nothing but Paramatma. Magi Asakta Manaha, his entire mind is attached towards me. Magi Asakta Manaha, his attachment, his asakti is towards me only. Now, he attains, he knows about me. Yatha mam jnasyasi, how he will know me. Tat shruno, listen to me. Listen to this process of how this jiva attains jnana by taking full refuge in him and fully having a mind fully attached to him. So 2 qualifications he puts in this bargain. Matu Ashtrayaha, exclusive refuge in Bhagavan, not having refuge in anything else. Asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasyasi. When he comes to know me, he comes to know me in full, samagram, nothing left. I give him that jnana. When he is qualified at that stage, I give him that jnana. He comes to know fully. Asamshayam, with no doubt left. No doubt, no clarification required, because all these doubts will keep haunting you till that stage is reached. That Bhagavan himself says, Upanishad says this repeatedly. Only when Paramatma Darshanam happens, all the doubts are killed. Till then, doubts will keep cropping up. That is why he is using the word asamshayam. No doubt is left anymore. Your knowledge is perfect. Samagram. Your knowledge is complete, full. That how this process takes place, that I am going to tell you now. Now, यो हि कश्चित् पुरुषार्थेन केनचित् अर्थी भवति स तत्साधनं कर्म अग्निहोत्रादि तपः दानं वा किञ्चित् आश्रयं प्रतिपद्यते. Now, Madashrayah, he is explaining that. Adi Shankara is explaining that. That means people will resort to Agnihotra, Tapas, Danam. He is quoting all the three. Agnihotradi karma. Karma is like Agnihotra. Tapas, Danam, Yajnadana Tapaschaiva. Three are quoted repeatedly in Bhagavad Gita by Bhagavan. So he is taking that here. Yajna, Dana, and Tapas. They are very important. You should never drop them. Bhagavan himself advises us. So, in the process, you will get so much attached to them that is your ashraya, that is your goal, that is your refuge. Because you want something, you still have desire in you. Kenachite purusharthe. Some purushartha is there in your mind. Dharma, artha, kama. Moksha is not the purushartha for you. One of these three, dharma, artha, kama. You want to do more and more of Agnihotra. You get attached to more and more yagas. There are people, isn't it? They want to complete 100 Ashwamedha yaga so that you can get the status of Indra, Shatakratu. We see that in Purana. So that is getting attached to yagas for the goal of attaining the state of Indra, the Padavi of Indra. So, तत्साधनं कर्म अग्निहोत्रादि तपः दानं वा किंचित् आश्रयं प्रतिपद्यते. So you are using it as a tool. That is your refuge. But as opposed to that person, this yogi, ayam the yogi, mameva ashrayam pratipadyate. This yogi, his only refuge, mameva, only refuge is myself. Hitva anyat sadhanantaram mayyeva asaktamanaha bhavati. He does not resort to any other sadhana. His sadhana is also through me only. Mayyeva asaktamanaha. Because his mind is ever attached to me. His sadhana is all devoted to me. Whatever sadhana, whether it is yajna, dana, or tapa, is all devoted to me. And he is not having any other refuge. Evam bhutaha samne, doing like this. Asamshayam samagram, mam means who is me. And he is giving a big explanation for the simple word me. Samasta vibhuti bala shakti aishwaryadi guna sampannam mam. What kind of Bhagavan we are talking? Samasta vibhuti, all glory is in him. Bala, all strength is in him. Shakti, all power is in him. Aishwarya, all the wealth is in him. Aishwarya, adi guna sampannam. This kind of gunas are in him. That kind of Bhagavan. Samasta vibhuti bala shakti aishwaryadi guna sampannam mam. येन प्रकारेण ज्ञास्यति संशयं मन्तरेण एवमेव भगवान् इति. He comes to know, Bhagavan is like this only, no doubt. Evameva Bhagavan, samshayam antarena, jnasyasi. Then he comes to know. Of course, he is addressing Arjuna, he is using second person, jnasyasi. That means you will come to know. So, that is the explanation given in detail by Adi Shankara for this shloka. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Mayyasaktamana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya. Yogam Yunjan. He is continuing with yoga, practice of yoga, with the goal as Bhagavan, with mind attached to Bhagavan. असंशयं समग्रं मां यथा ज्ञास्यसि तच्छृणु ज्ञानं तेऽहं सविज्ञानमिदं वक्ष्याम्यशेषतः यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोऽन्यत् ज्ञातव्यमवशिष्यते. Now that jnana which this yogi is going to attain, I am going to tell you about that jnana. Not only jnana, savijnanam. Now he is bringing that subject. Along with vijnana, not only jnana, jnana along with vijnana, aseshataha vakshami. I am going to tell in full, nothing left. With nothing left, in full, I am going to teach you that jnana along with vijnana. Vijnana Swanubhava Yuktam. Adi Shankara explains it clearly. What is Vijnana? Bhagavan is also going to explain now in advance. Adi Shankara explains it. Swanubhava Yuktam. You should experience it yourself, not loaned from books or from teachings. You should experience it yourself. Swanubhava Yuktam. That is Vijnana. So that I am going to tell you. Now, he's praising that jnana because you should get attracted towards jnana, isn't it? Because that is the goal. Always goal should be attractive, isn't it? Yajñātva neha bhūyōnyate jnātavyam avashishyate. Yajñātva, having known that, having gained that knowledge, iha, on this earth, na bhūyaha anyat jnātavyam. There is nothing more to be known. Bhūyaha, once again. After having known that, there is no more effort to be put for knowing something else. Anyatu jnātavyam, another item to be known. Na avashishyate. It is not balanced. It is not left. Nothing more is left to be known once you have known this. That is the attraction. In fact, Upanishad says this repeatedly. Upanishad says this repeatedly. That once you have got the highest jnana, nothing more is left. In fact, the Shishya goes to the Guru and asks him, please give me that knowledge. Having gained that knowledge, no more knowledge is required. Please give me that knowledge. This is the way a Shishya approaches the Guru as taught in the Upanishads. यज्ञात्वा यज्ञानं ज्ञात्वा नैव भूयः पुनः अन्यत् ज्ञातव्यं पुरुषार्थ साधनम् अवशिष्यते. No more purushartha sadhanam is left because you have attained the highest purushartha, that is jnana. सर्वज्ञः भवति मत्तत्त्वज्ञः यः सर्वज्ञः भवति इति अर्थः. He becomes सर्वज्ञ. There is nothing more to be known means he will automatically, once you have known Bhagavan, you have known everything else because Bhagavan is the storehouse of everything. Ato Vishishta Phalatvat Durlabhataram Jnanam. So it is not easy to get because it has an extraordinary fruit. The fruit is extraordinary, so process is also difficult. That Adi Shankara is mentioning that in this context. Because the goal is so high, effort has to be high. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshāmyasheshatah idam jnanam. That I am going to tell you that. Yajñātva neha bhūyōnyat jnātavyam avashishyate manushyanam sahasreshu kaśķidyatati siddhaye yatatāmapi siddhānam kaśķinmāṁ vetti tattvataha. Now the difficulty which Adi Shankara mentioned in the previous sloka comes up for discussion. Manushyanam sahasreshu, out of thousands of human beings, sahasra should not be taken as 1,000 here, means many. Out of many human beings, kaśķit siddhaye yatati, only a rare person, only one among those rare people, he puts in efforts for perfection. Yatadāmapi siddhānām kaśķinmāṁ vetti tattvataha. Even among those few, very few who put in efforts. Yatadamapi, even among those who put in efforts, Siddhanam, he is calling them Siddha. Why he is calling them Siddha? He's calling them Siddha. Siddha is one who has attained by definition. Siddhi is attainment. Siddha is he has attained. But this man has not attained jnana. He is still an aspirant. He is still a sadhaka. But he is calling them Siddha because he wants to make the whole thing attractive again. Yatataamapi siddhanam, among all those siddhas who are still making effort, Kachinmam vetti tattvataha, only one among those rare people understands me in reality, because understanding Bhagavan can be in part, in not in full, not in reality. Maybe a shade of that reality you get. That is why he uses the word tattvataha, yathavat, as it is. Bhagavan as he is, Paramatma as he is. That is tattvataha. That is, among thousands of people, among lots of people, only one among those thousand makes effort for this perfection. And out of those who make such efforts, only one understands me fully in reality. So that shows the extent of effort that you have to put in. This is not for discouraging us. This is for telling us that the goal is difficult, goal is supreme, and accordingly you have to put in efforts. If you have to obtain first rank in an examination, you have to put in corresponding efforts. If you are satisfied with getting 60% and getting first class, then the effort is different. So that is what he is saying. सिद्धानां मुमुक्षूणां साधकत्वेपि सिद्धत्वकथनं तेषाम् उत्कर्षद्योतनार्थम्. This point which I made comes from Madhusudana Saraswati. Why he is calling them Siddha? Because they are mumukshus. They are keen on getting moksha. They have not become adhikari for moksha, but they are very keen on getting moksha. Sadhakatvepi siddhatva katanam. Though he is still a sadhaka, he is not a siddha, but Bhagavan is calling them siddhas. Why? Tesham utkarshatyotanartham. To praise them. In order to praise them, because if you praise the sadhaka, you will also like to become one. So in order to praise that sadhaka, because he is anyway intent on moksha, he is not intent on anything else. So he is a mumukshu. So that is why he brings them in the second class. First class was you make an effort, you are a sadhaka. Second class is etatam siddhanam. Among those who make the effort, only one attains me. So those who make effort, he calls them siddhas for making them look attractive. That is mentioned by no less a person than Madhusudana Saraswati himself. Tesham utkarshat jyotanartham, in order to make it clear that they are superior. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschidhyatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschinmam vetti tattvataha. भूमिरापो नलो वायुः खं मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहंकारयति यं मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिरष्टधा. Now Bhagavan has started going into the depth of that knowledge. He said, no, I'm going to teach you that knowledge along with Vijnana. So he's starting that. The first three shlokas were preliminary. Now he is going into the subject. Me prakritihi ashtatha bhinna. I have got something called Prakriti. Paramatma has got something called Prakriti, which is eightfold, which is split into 8 items. That Prakriti is split into 8 items. What is Prakriti? Prakriti is what you see around you, including your body. Including your body, all that you see around you is made of 5 elements. All of us know it. We have seen it before also. Now that point he is coming. Bhumihi, apaha, analaha, vayuhu, kham, manaha, buddhihi, ahankaraha. These are the 8 which constitute the Prakriti, which I am holding as a power in me. Now he is not saying that, he is going to say that in the future slokas. That is his power. Now he says, now when he says, Bhumihi, Apaha, Analaha, Vayuhu, Kham, these are the five elements, Panchabhutas, the earth, the water, the fire, the air, and the Akasha. Kham is Akasha, the space. Now here, the explanation is, do not assume that they are the gross, they are the fine. They are what is called Tanmatra. Tanmatra is the quality. Bhumi has got a quality of Gandha, smell. Sky, the space, has got a quality of Shabda. So like this, each one has got a quality. So Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These are the five Tanmatras associated with the five Panchabhutas. So when he says Bhumirapo Nalo Vayuhu Kham, do not assume that he is referring to the five gross elements. He is referring to the five Tanmatras. That is explained by Adi Shankara. Tanmatranyeva Uchante. How he gets this idea? Because he is using the word Prakriti. Vinna Prakriti Rashtadha. My Prakriti, which is split into eight. So his Prakriti is not the Sthula Bhumi, the Sthula, the gross water, the gross fire. No. The fine, the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, the fine aspects of these five elements constitute his Prakriti. That we know. That is why he is interpreting like that. Now, next. Manaha, Buddhihi, Ahankaraha. These three. Manas, Buddhi, and Ahankar. We have seen before. Manas is Sankalpa Vikalpa. Manas is considering various alternatives. Buddhi is determinate. Intellect is determinate. We have these two. We also have Ahankara and Chitta. There are four Antakaranas we have. The Chitta he is not mentioning because he is including it in Ahankara. Ahankara is, I am different from someone else. That is Ahankara, ego. I am different from other animals, other human beings. I am different from the Jagat around me. That is Ahankara, the individuality. So that is Ahankara. Now this comes from him. This is not coming from you. Everything comes from him. Everything comes from Prakriti, which is his power. So, Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara. Now, this is the term used in individuals. The three terms, Manas, Buddhi, and Ahankara, are associated with individual jivas. Though he is using those three terms, Adi Shankara explains, don't understand as the individual, you understand as Samashti, Veshti and Samashti. Veshti is individual, Samashti is sum total of creation. Sum total of creation, just as Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayuhu Kham was interpreted as the Tanmatras, the fine aspects of those five. Similarly, don't assume your manas, your ahankara, your buddhi is pointed out here. No. It is the sum total of manas, of all creation, sum total of buddhi, sum total of ahankara. But is there a name for that sum total? Yes. Though that name is not being used by Bhagavan here. That is called Moola Prakriti. That Prakriti is Moola Prakriti, the basis, the foundational Prakriti. Now that has got three stages, three aspects. One is called Avyaktam, another is called Mahat, the third is called Ahankara. In fact, these are the stages of creation. When the world comes into being for the first time, before it comes into being, it is there in subtle form. That is Avyakta, not known, not seen. That corresponds to our Ahankara, what he is calling as Ahankara. That corresponds to Avyakta. Now, these are technical interpretations given by Adi Shankara. Now, next stage is Mahat. It takes a grosser form. It was very subtle when it was in Avyakta stage. The creation, the world takes next grosser form, that is Mahat. The next grosser form is Ahankara. Now, this Mahat and Ahankara corresponds with Buddhi and Manas. The term Ahankara should not be confused. The term Ahankara here refers to Avyakta. The term Buddhi here refers to Mahat. The term Manas here refers to Ahankara. So, Avyaktam, Mahate, and Ahankara are the three stages of creation in Samashti, in the group, in the gross, in the whole. And in the individual case, it becomes Ahankara, Buddhi, and Manas. Now, these gross elements, coming back to the five gross elements, Bhumi, Apaha, Anaraha, Vayuhu, Kam. These five gross elements which we see around us actually are produced from those five tanmatras by a process called Panchikarana. By a process called Panchikarana. Panchikaranam of tanmatras results in this gross elements. I think we will stop here and we will continue in our next session, next Saturday at 7:30 PM IST. Any questions?
If anyone has any questions, kindly unmute and ask.
Namaste, Guruji. It was this last few minutes was very difficult to understand. Like when you say those commonly used terms, ahankara, and all those in context of Bhagavan that you explained, it's not, those words are confusing, basically.
The words are confusing, no doubt, because the term ahankara becomes indicate two different meanings in the two different contexts. That's why I was mentioning that.
Yeah.
It's not necessary for us to go into so much detail because Bhagavan has mentioned it and Adi Shankara has mentioned it in his commentary. I just mentioned it. It is enough if we know that Bhagavan has got the capacity, inbuilt capacity to do the creation with the help of a power called Prakriti. That Prakriti, that creation process follows three stages. And those three stages result in our getting Manas, Buddhi, and Ahankar. Those three stages corresponding. It is like a grouping, and you split it into three groups. It is like that. A group of three being split individually into three. So those three are assigned to each individual. Buddhi, Manas, and Ahankara. That is about the fine part, the gross part, the five elements. He first has all those subtle powers in him, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. And those become gross by a process called Panchakarana, which we will take up in our next lecture. So there is something called world around us. There is something called mind in us. Both have come up here. Both are Prakriti. You are different from them. That is what he wants to come to. That point he wants to come to. Before that, he is explaining that all these are not Paramatma. All these are different from Atma. This whole body, this Manas, this Buddhi, this Ahankara, the world that you see around you, they are all part of Prakriti, part of nature, part of his power. That is not himself. If somebody is holding a sword in his hand, sword is not he, isn't it? Sword is his power. So similarly, these are the power by which he creates us. But we are not him. All these powers are not him. So that is the point he is coming to. But this is the preliminary to that. So it's not necessary for us to go into all the detail. It is enough if we understand the distinction between Atma and Anatma. That is the point he is coming to, but he is coming in great detail. After all, this is the text, Vedanta text. A text has to cover all aspects, so he is covering.
So ultimately, it looks like nothing belongs to us, neither buddhi
Yes,
nor manas.
exactly. Nothing belongs to us. Nothing is substantial. Nothing belongs to us. Nothing is substantial. Only Atma is substantial. That is Paramatma. All others are meaningless. Vacuum.
Just one more
That's why
question.
it's called Maya. Prakriti, another term is Maya. He is going to come to that. He is himself going to come to that. It is all illusion. It is not there. It is not a fact.
Just one more question, if you don't mind. So you said that everybody eventually, through little by little, will acquire jnana, and over the cycles like rebirths and all, eventually he will start amassing this jnana, and eventually everybody's goal is to become that moksha, to attain moksha. When does this end? Like, with so many creatures in the world right now, does ever it end, or like the cycle just keeps going on? That's it. Is this whole thing
That
about
is why
just
that is why he said, no, among many people, only a few reach me. He said that.
yeah?
Only because all the others will come back to the cycle again and again. That is why we are here. All of us are here because of that. Because we never made proper attempts. Isn't it? That shows the very presence of so many human beings and so much of creation around us shows that efforts were not made by all these created beings. If they had made efforts, they would have become part of Paramatma. That is the point he is making. Well, now whether a stage will be reached when there will be no more creation, everybody will become Paramatma. That is perhaps the question which will haunt all sadhakas. But that question has never been answered. That question has never been answered because samsara has also been defined as beginningless and endless, anadi, ananta, samsara. Bhagavan is anadi, ananta, that everyone knows. Samsara also is anadi and ananta. It has no beginning, it has no end. So that has never been explained in Vedanta. Why samsara is anadi, why samsara is ananta has not been explained. Because perhaps the nature is like that.
So maybe it will just continue.
Vedanta is very clear, saying that don't ask such questions. Vedanta is clear. Don't ask such questions. Don't worry about someone else. This is the question about someone else, strictly speaking. Strictly speaking, this question is about people around us, creation around us. Worry about yourself. That's what Ramana Maharshi was always saying. So that is what Vedanta says. So
No, I was hoping eventually, if through multiple rebirths, maybe some like me also, I have a chance to attain moksha. Maybe 10,000 rebirths later, or a billion rebirths later. Who knows? Like,
that is correct. That
that
is
chance is
correct.
there.
That is the message. That is correct. Otherwise, there is no meaning, isn't it? If that message is not given to us, it has no meaning. It is as well not given.
Yeah.
So the message given is exactly what you mentioned now. Yes, it is correct. Absolutely correct.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Mama, Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I have a question that, so basically the moksha means dissolving the boundaries between you and the world. Is it right?
What is that?
Is moksha means to dissolve the boundaries between you and the world?
No. The world is non-existent. So there's no question of boundary. There is only one entity existing, that is Paramatma. That is jnana. So there's no question of boundary. When you say boundary, there are two entities between you and the world. World is existing, I am existing, and I have to reach a third entity. No, you don't exist, world doesn't exist, only Paramatma exists, and we have to get ourselves rid of this illusion. That is Vedanta. There's no boundary.
Shri Guru Bhyo.
Yeah.
I don't think that we have any more questions.
Yeah, okay. So we close for the day. We meet again next Saturday at 7:30 p.m. to continue with our study of Jnana and Vijnana. Namah Parvati Pataye Har Har Mahadeva Sarvatra Govinda Nama Sankirtanam Govinda Govinda Sri Raja Rajeshwariyai Jaya Jaya.
Thank you everyone for joining. We'll meet again next Saturday. Hara Hara Shankara, Jai Jai Shankara.